Honestly, I feel like freaking David after Dennis right now. Is is this real life? Like, what the heck is happening, guys?
Well,
Welcome to the
Daniel,
show.
you went to the dentist and you're fucked up right now.
Is this real life? I like woke up. It was like $2,500 higher than it was when I went to sleep. Guys, this is Bitcoin. Welcome. The
This
show
is
is you,
Bitcoin.
me, and BTC. Episode 208. We're going to address the haters today because there's a
Yeah.
lot of them and they hate us. I am Daniel Brown and I'm here with
Tim Baker.
Zach Vol.
guys. During tonight's show, the place to be is you, me, and btc.com/live. If you're not already there, that's where the video is, the chat, and the show notes, and the links, and whatever else you like, some tweet buttons, and whatnot. But the most important thing really is that troll box. Literally, just jump in there. We'll have a good time. Let us know what you're thinking. Every once in a while, we'll read through the chat and share your thoughts on the interwebs, the big screen over here. Whew. Geez, haters, guys. So here's what's coming up. We found all kinds of different. Obviously, Twitter is like a freaking cesspool these days with the price. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so we can look at one of these charts. Price is going friggin' ham out the wazoo. So that's a thing. All right, so look at that. 17K on this chart. I mean, whatever the price, 16, 17. Somebody said it hit 19 somewhere today. I don't care what you want to call it. All right. It's friggin' high. That's all that matters. High as a kite. But yeah, anyway, things that people have, viral stories that, hate on Bitcoin. Neo-Nazis, merchants giving up on Bitcoin, and electricity. The wild costs of mining electricity. So there it is. That's all coming up momentarily. Like I said, links are at you, me, and btc.com/live. And before we get started, I want to give a huge thank you to our amazing sponsor who is making it possible for us to do 2 episodes per week. That is America's Card Room. You can find them at you, me, and btc.com/poker. And get this, guys. Obviously, we wouldn't be talking about them if they didn't accept crypto. So now that your Bitcoin is worth God knows how much, just go ahead and drop a little bit and have some fun with it on a poker site. It's amazing. And here, listen, guys, we got a code, BTC100. That code will get you a 100% bonus on your first deposit. So literally, it's like your Bitcoin. It's not just worth 17,000 right now. It's worth 34,000. I can math, I promise. Yeah, guys, you got some valuable Bitcoin. You can get 100% bonus. You, me, and btc.com/poker, code BTC100. Zach, tell me about these neo-Nazis, because this was your idea. I hadn't happened to see it, but I looked it up, and there was some interesting stuff going down about neo-Nazis and Bitcoin. Real quick, I bet you that because I wrote the word Nazi in our YouTube description, we probably won't be allowed to run ads on this. So
Fight the system.
yeah, what's going on?
I saw this, I guess, if you want to call it a story, a couple weeks ago. Someone tweeted it and said, if there's ever a better reason to regulate Bitcoin, it's Nazis. It's like, oh, dope. I thought they were making it up. But then I saw it again today, and when we were talking about this show, I thought, well, let's talk about it, because who doesn't love talking about Nazis? So it's a similar story to what we're all familiar with WikiLeaks and Julian Assange and Ed Snowden and all of these characters whose activities aren't necessarily approved of by the government or allowed to continue under like normal financial institutions. So they use Bitcoin. And Nazis, apparently, before the price shot up from a couple $1,000s to $1 million or whatever it's at right now. They put some money in Bitcoin, and now, just like the rest of us, they have made some decent profits. And so one person, some journalist, she's the editor of the Financial Times, actually, is where I first saw the story today. Not first saw the story, but where I saw it today again. The editor of the Financial Times tweeted, if you need any better reason to, she said, boycott Bitcoin than this, there isn't one. And then she linked to the article from Mick.com, I think, or from somewhere.
Yeah, that's the one I put in the show notes.
Yeah. How neo-Nazi wealth is rapidly growing because of Bitcoin. And I'm like, all right, this is absurd. So I responded to her, and she responded to everyone else that replied to her tweets, some of them agreeing, some of them disagreeing, but she didn't respond to me. But I linked her to a tweet I sent out like months ago, where during Hurricane Harvey, or after Hurricane Harvey, I guess, several $1,000s, almost $100,000, I guess, of Bitcoin was sent to this one town in Texas to help them recover from the hurricane. I was like, yeah, maybe Nazis own Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is also used for hurricane relief. So
Right.
Maybe it's good for just about anything, just like money is. And she didn't respond, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's such a
that's the story,
crappy,
and it's stupid. So take it away.
yeah, it's just such a crappy assumption to make. They use dollars too. They probably use dollars way more than they use Bitcoin. I mean, why wouldn't they? It's like, they're in friggin' Charlottesville trying to buy a tiki torch. Well, I happen to know that Home Depot doesn't accept Bitcoin, so they had to use dollars. Does that mean we give up dollars?
Yeah. It's like either dollars, or maybe it's like neo-Nazis bought AOL stock back in 1991 or 1985 or something, whenever AOL launched its IPO, and now they're millionaires. Boycott the internet. It's like, all right, go jump off a bridge.
Now you're excited. We're definitely not getting to run ads on this now, but
I'll play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay.
And ask for some response. I guess one of the differences that they could point out is that Bitcoin enables all of this a lot more. Like, maybe they're not just ripping on Bitcoin because Nazis use it. Maybe they're ripping on Bitcoin because it helps Nazis a lot more than dollars. Because a lot of the point of this article was like, oh, they were getting banned from this website, and they got all these accounts shut down. But if they had Bitcoin, then you can't really ban that, which is one of the greatest strengths of Bitcoin, I would add. But still, maybe that's their point, is like, well, at least with dollars, like, we could shut down their bank accounts, and okay, yeah, they could use cash, but they couldn't do gigantic, coordinated crime or hate or whatever. But with Bitcoin, they could. You can't stop Bitcoin. Well,
Right.
what would you guys say to that?
it's a Nazi
I'd say-
badger.
Yeah, I'd say ISIS uses Twitter, but we don't boycott Twitter. We should focus on the agency using it instead of the tool that they use. So don't boycott Bitcoin. Fucking end Nazis. Don't boycott Twitter. Let's go wreck ISIS, or I don't know, whatever. But the tool they use isn't bad, and the bad actor who's using it. It makes no sense. So
Yeah, I mean, it's something we've covered a million times on the show. It's technology. Can be used for good or bad.
True. But the thing, we cover all these things a million times because people are so dumb. They don't come up with new talking points. Like, come up with new. I mean, I love arguing, but every conversation I have with people is the same thing. It's just like, come up with new talking points, please.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna pick out a pair. Jeez,
What?
I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen again, because I'm scrolling through this article, and this chart is like the most confusing chart I've ever seen. Here's the thing. I have a lot of respect for Mike as a publisher, Like, no, I don't know. I don't even know what they write much, but I like their website mostly. I'm a web developer, and I've looked at their site a lot, and it works well. So great, kudos for that. Whatever. I don't even know what they write about, but this chart, what the crap? I can't even figure out what it means. It's like wallet data from. This wallet data is from tweets via @neo-Nazi wallets, a bot that tracks neo-Nazi Bitcoin activity. So I guess they're like keeping because that's another big point of this article that we could get into. They talk about how Bitcoin addresses are public, and if you're soliciting donations, everyone, you put your address on Twitter, and then everyone can see that. Which reminds me of Antonopoulos and his gigantic donations over the past few days. What an idiot! He doesn't deserve any money. Stupid.
Give it to us.
Yeah, we give us money instead. He's an idiot. No, he's not.
You guys
but
have.
Anyway, yeah, we could talk about that more because it's an awesome story, to be honest. But I got to finish this point about this chart. What the heck is like there's two lines. One of them says dollars and one of them says Bitcoin. The Bitcoin one is flat. It's definitely not the Bitcoin price because it goes up to like $80,000.
What is what are the numbers on the right side? The 0, 5, 10, 15, 20.
Those would be Bitcoin. So maybe it's
okay. So they
showing that like you have a flat 7.5 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And its dollar value increases.
Up. So yeah, basically they're saying Nazis are holding, and that's bad.
Yeah. I don't get why the white line is flat though. Like, did nobody ever donate to them in that whole period? I guess that's what's going on. But what's the point of even having the line if it's flat? Just say like, oh, this is the dollar value of their Bitcoin went up. Anyway, so it took me way too long to figure out this chart. Is all I'm saying. If I even figured it out. So I mean,
anyway, we know the editor of the Financial Times likes stupid arguments. That's the takeaway from this.
Yeah, sure.
Well, it's just another article to write too, because I mean, it's just you're going to get a bunch of people sharing it, and it's the same thing they do with gold, where they're like, gold is only held by people trying to destroy the economy, so you have to shun people who buy gold, and it's evil and it's wrong, and those people don't love their country and everything. And it's just, gold's a little bit different, but still you have where people are just using it because they're worried about the economy. But especially with Bitcoin, if you push people to like a side, or I'm not sure exactly what I'm trying to, if you segregate people off, or if you kind of just shun them, just like, okay, we're not going to let you use this, we're not going to let you use this, they're going to go to the freest option. And yeah, what you said before, I mean, ISIS uses Bitcoins too. ISIS uses the internet. The alt-right use the internet. Everybody uses the technology, and all they seem to be trying to do is kill it for the fact that it is more freeing, and using just whatever excuse they can kind of come up with. Or like, I mean, I even understand that like this is a legitimate concern, but this isn't how you do it. Like, I think you said that, Zach. Like, it's just get rid of Nazis, like, or just.
Well, what's the net? Like, I guess what's the net value of any technology? But sure, let's say Bitcoin. If the bottom line is that it just makes people freer, lets them do what they want. I've been loving the term censorship resistance lately. I know it's not even remotely a new term, but I've just happened to hear about it a lot lately, and I think it fits perfectly. So what's the net positive then with censorship resistance? How do you know if it's a net positive? If you're dealing with criminals who are going to use that censorship resistance to do crappy stuff, evil stuff, and also other people who are going to donate to hurricane victims with it. How do you know what the net value is, and if it should be kept around or boycotted? How do you know?
Most people, or I think what I've heard most from like libertarian thinkers or people like Rothbard and stuff, is we know that letting people have more of a free, like, individual will. Now, I mean, like, America was never perfect, but back and this is what they would say. I don't know. I wasn't there. Maybe the history's wrong, but the idea is that like right around the 1900s, right before that, everybody lived on like $1 a day. Like that was the median. It was just abject poverty, and obviously it was worth a little bit. No, I think that's adjusted for inflation. I believe it's still like $1 a day. They'd get like 5 cents or whatever. But whenever they were given the freedom in the early 1900s, the way industry boomed and kind of took off like that does show that, yeah, sure, there were people who died, there were people who worked for too long, but it's better than slavery. You can say, or you could make, again, I understand the whole socialist argument again, like you're objecting the masses as workers, but that's kind of what had to happen. It wasn't going to get any better. We weren't going to go from feudalism to the internet without forcing people into factories till they died or stuff like that. So,
I mean, nobody really forced them. It just, that was their best option.
Yeah, but you're right. I can't really say anything.
No, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm just playing a little bit of devil's advocate, asking whatever comes to mind, whether I agree with the dispute or whatever. But yeah. So anyway, that's something we talked about a lot on the show. Is just, you know, how do you know what's good and what's bad? I mean, obviously that's like a age old philosophical gigantic life question, but sure, let's ask it right here in this situation with Bitcoin. How do you know if it's good or bad? And to be honest, I don't know the answer. And maybe sure, I mean, it's obviously so hard to quantify, but it's possible that it's a net negative. Let's say it's possible that there's more evil done than good with Bitcoin. I definitely doubt it. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that's true at all. But even if it was possible, I can't prove it. I can't prove it. And what I do know is that it would be wrong for me to stop you from using Bitcoin. Again, just like I said, I think I just said it Monday when I was monologuing. That was fun. Check it out. But like, what am I going to do? Like come into your house and tie you up because I think you're using Bitcoin? No, like I'm just not. Like that I know is wrong. I know that's wrong. So what am I supposed to do? I mean, with Bitcoin, even if you said there was a possibility that it could be more evil than good, you can't prove it. You can't really even realistically, you can't even say that that's likely. You could just say that it's possible. So you don't really know. That's the point. You don't really know about that. But I do know that it is completely wrong for me to stop you physically from doing what you want if you're not hurting me. So that's, I guess then the next argument, again, devil's advocate, the next argument might be like, well, they are hurting you because they're doing evil. And over time, it's going to, diminish your, potential.
Control, Daniel. We're going to just go completely Nazi because that makes any sense for how they have it. They're taxing us enough. They don't give a shit. It's going to stay the same. It's not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but that's what we say about the government. Like, oh, they're clearly a net negative, so screw them.
Yeah, but then everybody else doesn't see that, and that is the problem. Is one asking why you think that, like, why, like most people would say because the government's what keeps everybody together. Like government's some kind of physical thing that causes you not to just push your neighbor in front of a car whenever you feel like doing it, or just like, oh, I'm drunk now, I'm going to get in my car and drive over people. Like it doesn't stop people normally. Like plenty of people I know still drunk drive all the time. People go to brunch and get hammered. But it's, again, it goes back to most people are more scared of an individual pain or an individual criminal, an individual bad actor than an entire system that kind of shoves people one direction. Like I would even be willing to give credence to the idea that there might be more criminals if there wasn't a government. Like if there would be more people breaking. Well, I mean, of course they'd be breaking the laws because it wouldn't be never mind. That's
Yeah,
not
it
even going to make
depends how
sense.
you define criminal. Because if you just mean like taking your money, well, if you just mean like a bandit, well, that people don't agree now. But you know, it's pretty much the government's the bandit.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's the big guy with the big gun instead of the small guy coming from nowhere. You know where the big guy with the gun is, and he'll shoot anybody as long as you bow down to Mr. Big Gun. That sounds like something phallic.
I accidentally fell into a marketing trap and started listening to a bunch of Joe Rogan for about the past week, which I'll be the first one to tell you that marketing is bull crap and all they want is your money, but I still fell for it. They made Joe Rogan a playable character in a UFC game, a wrestling game. And my friend was playing the game and I saw Joe Rogan. I'm like, oh shoot. I remember I've always wanted to listen to his podcast. I'm going to look it up and go. I went and subscribed and everything. So I fell for that trap hard. But anyway, that's irrelevant. Just a random thing that happened to me that I wanted to share.
They got you.
But one of his recent guests was Doug Stanhope, who I don't really know at all, except for I've heard the name before. But I remember thinking, like halfway through the episode, like both of them, not just Doug, but even Joe Rogan, one of the biggest podcast hosts in the world. Both of them were just like talking in like half sentences and like barely finishing points and then changing to like, and also the ads, like they literally, this is not an exaggeration. They literally do 10 minutes worth of ads at the very beginning of the show.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's not, they're not commercials, they're live reads. They do 10 minutes worth of live read, or anywhere from probably like 6 to 10 minutes depending on the episode. But anyway, the whole reason I'm saying that is because it makes me feel a lot less bad for when I jump around and like I don't really even understand the question that I just asked him, but I know we're discussing something and it sounds great. Because yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not like making stuff up. I'm just trying to get this across. I may or may not be doing a great job, but it makes me realize that there's still value in just kind of tripping along and talking about whatever. And I happen to enjoy that.
One thing, you do a lot better than I think you're giving yourself credit for, as far as not just stumbling completely over yourself. And two, you heard it here, Daniel Brown is calling Joe Rogan a podcasting bitch, and he demands podcast off. Fuck you, Rogan.
Bring it on, Joe. Let's go. As long as we're not in the same room, because you will destroy me in the same room.
He's short though, Daniel. You get him.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, we got like 3 big stories we got to cover, so I guess that means we should move on. Any last thoughts on the story about Nazis using Bitcoin before we move on?
If you think Nazis shouldn't use Bitcoin, then just let Nazis use cash, and maybe you'll discover that you just don't like Nazis instead of don't like Bitcoin.
Yeah. So, holy crap! I like I said, we check the chat every once in a while, so I got to scroll through it. The first thing, this is a great question from one of our biggest fans, the Mocktimist, Matthew O'Keefe. Why the heck are you doing this podcast? I thought you'd all be lying on a beach in the Caribbean right now. Then he says, "Is it because you don't like reggae?" Don't. Tim said, "Thanks for reminding me why I hate myself." Presumably, I seriously don't know, but I'm presuming that means that suggests that Tim doesn't have as much Bitcoin as he wishes. Kind of like Andreas Antonopoulos. I'm guessing.
Come on, give me shit.
You know, speaking about not having as much as you wish, though, these are the 2 most annoying questions that people ask you about Bitcoin. I've decided.
Yeah, how much do you have?
Like,
yes, how much do you have is the number 2 question. Well, actually, rank them for me. I don't know. They're both equal. How much do you have, and should I buy? Or if
Oh,
it goes up,
geez.
should I sell?
Should I buy? That's way worse.
Yes,
Should I
no, do
buy
it. No.
Bitcoin? And how much Bitcoin do you have? It's like, and the reason why is because I'm on Twitter right now, and someone just responded to one of my tweets. Hey Zach, how much Bitcoin do you have? Like,
should I buy
what?
some? No, I totally agree. I've gotten those several times. I've literally, like, I know, like, people joke about memes where like your long lost friend like randomly is like, "Oh, hey, what's up? How are the Bitcoin doing?"
Yeah.
But I literally have had a cousin who has never texted me in my life. I don't even know how she got my number. She literally just texted me, "Hey, did you see the price of Bitcoin today?"
Oh my god.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't even check. What happened?
There's maybe I shouldn't say this. No, who cares? There's this one girl, I don't have to tell you her last name, but this one girl, Nicole, who I know from college, and we just have a little bit of a history, but we haven't talked in 3 years. Then she messaged me this evening, "Hey, what is Bitcoin?"
Oh, jeez. It's real life, guys, real life. Anyway, Matthew, yeah, I guess Tim kind of answered it for you. Same as Andreas. I mean, just because we love Bitcoin doesn't mean we got a million of them. Or I don't know, maybe Tim does. Maybe that's just a little, what's it called, a false flag or something.
True.
Don't you say it. We're not gonna have any ads on this, you fuck. Stop.
Yeah.
Tim hates women too. They're
Oh, geez. But anyway, yeah, we'll get to the Caribbean someday. Don't worry. Just because, actually, no, never mind. Yeah, we're not Bitcoin millionaires. Therefore, give us like 80 Bitcoin. Did you guys see this? Supposedly, the same person, the same Bitcoin address, sent another 40 coin to Andreas. So it's like a full million.
Yeah.
It's not. And one of my favorite people to follow, Dark Pill on Twitter, he was like, because there's this one account I don't follow, I forget the name, but that is tweeting all of these deposits into Andres' address, and Dark Pill's like, "Why are you doing this? Like, why are you broadcasting this to all of Twitter?" Which I guess I agree with. Like, I mean, it's obviously anyone can check. It's open. That's the point of this whole shindig. But there's no reason to broadcast it all over Twitter.
That's got to be, honestly, in some ways, it's kind of scary to be Andreas now because everyone knows that he has that much money.
Yeah.
Like,
which I think is partly why he's just like, all right, I'm off. I got to process and figure out what the hell to do, which I'm excited. I mean, he could do a ton of cool stuff now that he isn't like an average person making an average living now, traveling around speaking. He's got money, so I'm excited to see the cool things he does, but it's also kind of, yeah.
So just on the off chance that anyone doesn't know who he is or what happened, I'll just quickly lay it out. He's been supporting and advocating for Bitcoin for, probably 6, 7 years now, a long time. And he's been one of the best speakers about it. He's been all over the world. He's been before in front of Senate committees and whatnot, explaining and advocating for Bitcoin. We've had him on this show way back in the day, like in the episodes 20s and 30s, somewhere in there. We did a series of special interviews from a conference, and he was there. We interviewed him. It was a great time. So anyway, he's an awesome dude, and the other day he said on Twitter, "I'm not a Bitcoin millionaire because I had to pay bills. It's that simple, and I was in debt." And it would have been, he said, "I wish I went more into debt, but it would have been irresponsible," which I totally agree, because I would love to just like spend my entire credit card limit on Bitcoin, but it's just irresponsible. It's just not a good way to live life where you're in debt. And
that's what the government tries to tell you, Daniel.
Maybe.
Debt is good.
But hey, also,
I don't have a family like him. So like you said, I totally respect it. And I think that guy who sold everything and moved to a campground is just, he should be locked up. That's criminal because he's like 2 kids. But I wish I had, because I paid for all of my tuition in undergrad, and I have a little bit left to pay off now that I'm graduated. But I wish I didn't pay for any of it semester by semester, just dumped it all in a big. I don't have a family. Who gives a shit if I die or go bankrupt or something? Because the interest I would earn on the debt would be pennies compared to what I would have now. I'm just like, good God, why was I so stupid?
Yeah, no, all I do now is go back to shit I bought and then just go, wow,
Yeah.
that was a lot of
Yeah.
Did I really spend 4 Bitcoin on that ounce of silver?
God.
I
damn
was
it.
sitting on the metro and I lost it because there's a tweet. It was like, congrats to all those people in 2013 who snorted a house worth of cocaine.
Yeah, at least a couple of mansions, maybe.
Yeah, they would have been on the
Oh,
Caribbean, Matt. But it's all up their nose now.
Hey, also, guys, just on the off chance that it makes me filthy rich, I'm gonna also say that I'm not a Bitcoin millionaire because bills. So, hey, and also I have a donation address at the end of the show notes. So for whatever that's worth, just on the off chance. Also, fuck Roger Ver.
I think it's funny. He attacks our coin, and then his coin goes to shit. And then it's like, oh, well, let's attack their lead. He's not our leader, but like the most eloquent voice advocate for Bitcoin. And like, Roger, what do you think is going to happen? Like, you think this is a good strategy? I don't know.
Oh, geez. I want to get a little bit more through the chat because I just don't want to forget about it. That we got, again, Matthew O'Keefe, Flapping Plemis, and NY Cartoons. Don't hate, appreciate. What up, Tim? RIP Nazis, Comedy Gold. James Bond says he'll send me 2 million BTC right now. I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to hold you to that, James. Let me know
Wait,
where you
what about me?
live.
No, I'm getting really needy right now. Somebody tell me they're going to send me money. Oh.
Well, I just tweeted out that there's these people that are retweeting. I actually have one friend who hates Bitcoin, and he retweeted earlier. All these like pro accounts are saying, yeah, I bought X number of 100 Bitcoins in 2012, and I'll give one to whoever retweets this or something. And everyone's retweeting it all over.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
People are so dumb. I hate people.
Yeah, totally agree.
But
hey, guys, the next.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I want 1,000 followers by Christmas, and so I tweeted, I'll give 6 whole Dogecoins to anyone who follows me between now and Christmas. So go for it.
All right, 6 whole Dogecoins. Well, 6 is better than 1 Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be. So follow Zach at Zach Vol on Twitter. So, like I said, we got 3 decent-sized stories. So I want to make sure we move on to Steam. For the first time, I mean, this is the first time I've heard of a merchant this big giving up on Bitcoin. So that we're going to share in a moment, but I want to run our ad real quick with another thank you to America's Card Room, you, me, and BTC.com/poker. I'm going to ask Tim and Zach to mute themselves, and we'll be right back. Uh-oh. I screwed it up, guys. I screwed it up big time. All right, so I'm going to let them unmute themselves and talk about. We'll run it before our last story because I didn't do the audio right.
There we go.
I can just do the voiceover.
Get in the game with your favorite
cryptocurrency at America's Card Room.
That's good enough. That's pretty darn good.
Actually, for real though, I did check out their site and made an account, and it is dope. So I'm not making fun of them. It's pretty cool.
Right. All right, you know what? They'll forgive us. Let's just do another real quick live read, and we won't worry about the commercial. Yeah, they're pretty dope. Seriously, guys. 60 different cryptocurrencies. They are not like Steam. They did not give up on Bitcoin or any of these other cryptos. So get over there.
And not that we're like gambling addicts, but we've like tooled around with a whole bunch of different gambling sites before, gaming sites, and like this, it's great. The interface, I mean, the amount of coins that they offer, all that stuff. So,
right. I mean, you if you guys have been listening to the show since the beginning, you know that I love gambling. I love Bitcoin gambling sites. They're just one of the coolest things about Bitcoin. I know people say it's such a vice, and it can be, no question about it. But still, I think it's fun. I think it's a good use case for Bitcoin. It's America's Card Room. guys. You, me, and btc.com/poker. And the code is BTC100 for a 100% bonus on your first deposit. That means that a little bit of your Bitcoin is worth $34,000 right now. So check it out. Okay, guys, what do you think about Steam? Did either of you read the blog post that they made?
Yeah, I skimmed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just for the sake of time, I don't feel like reading it word for word. I'm just going to summarize it, and it's pretty much what you would expect. The fees were too high, and the network was just unreliable. Now, one of the first things that I thought at first was like, well, so what if the fees are too high? Like whoever is spending the Bitcoin gets to decide if they want to pay the fee, how much fee they want to pay, and if they even want to pay with Bitcoin. You know, if the fee is too high, then they would just not use Bitcoin. So why does Steam care about what the Bitcoin fee is? That was my first thought, and I think I have an answer for why they do care anyway, but I want to know if you guys have any theories about why it's such a big deal. The fee, why is that such a big deal to them? Because they don't even pay it. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I don't understand it for that reason. Because then they don't go on to say anything about how people just weren't using it.
Right. Oh yeah, exactly. It's like, well, why would you have to shut it down if people are using it?
yeah. Maybe I don't want to pay taxes. I want to buy a fuck ton of Steam games.
Hey guys, keep this conversation going. I got to take my headphones off real quick.
All right, Steam games. You bought anything on Steam?
Well,
I've never bought anything with Bitcoin.
No, me neither. The transaction thing honestly doesn't make a ton of sense because
what?
It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
No,
even the Bitcoin Cash transactions are priced.
All right, James. Bring it on, James. I'm ready.
What?
James, I got the address right there, right down in the description. So I'm ready for a whole Bitcoin. I'm ready when you are.
Good God.
If you give him a Bitcoin, I will fly to Arizona now and shoot him in the face.
Oh.
All right. I interrupted Zach's very scholastic point that he was making.
Why are you saying what? I was like, because the fuck is getting undressed in the bottom of my fucking screen. And I don't want to see this.
Yeah, but seriously, I want to know what you're saying, Zach.
I was just going to say transactions don't make any sense because as far as I understand, Bitcoin Cash transactions for these things are priced in Bitcoin as are any other coins. So it's not all Bitcoin's fault, essentially. They just decided it's inefficient for them. I don't know what I'm saying.
So my best theory, yeah, this is staying off for the rest of the show. For anyone listening on the podcast, James Bond promised me 1 full Bitcoin if I took off my shirt, so it's off. Yeah. So my theory is just that they have beginners that are learning about Bitcoin, maybe for the purpose of spending it on Steam. And maybe the beginners just don't understand all that. They don't understand how the fees work. They don't understand how much they're spending on fees, or maybe they buy Bitcoin and then they get all pissed off at Steam because they're like, wait, nobody told me I wasted my money on Bitcoin and I can't really use it because the fee is so high. So that's a possibility. Also, it also is just kind of a transaction processing thing where if it takes X long for a transaction to go through, which it definitely can take a long time for Bitcoin these days, then it just breaks the whole thing because they also talk a lot about volatility. And that's a problem because if my transaction does not go through until tomorrow, it's going to be worth twice as much. Or it could be with the way Bitcoin's going.
Yeah.
So regardless of the fee, it just breaks the whole, like, how do we count? And then once Steam gets it, or whoever their payment processor is, probably BitPay, but once Steam gets it, then they have to transfer it and try to get it onto an exchange to sell it, and maybe the price of Bitcoin plummeted in that time or whatever. Listen, it is such a tough question to cope with because we've been saying for years, like, oh, how cool is it? This merchant takes Bitcoin and this one, and this is great. Let's get everyone on Bitcoin. It's hard to come to terms with it, but it's becoming more and more clear that maybe it just isn't going to work that way. Any thoughts?
No, I said my piece essentially. I've never used the website, so I really don't. I don't. It strikes me as interesting that they stopped using Bitcoin because of transaction costs, but at the same time, you can't even buy an effing kitten on the Ethereum network. So it's not like, oh, Bitcoin has a huge problem with companies losing, or with companies not wanting to transact in it because you can't transact. I was just added to this Facebook group, so I obviously do most of my crypto interactions on Twitter. Where'd the name of it go? It's ABC, Anarchic Breeders of Crypto Kitties or something that some friend added me to. But that's the funny part. The sad part is this guy was posting about how he tried to sell a couple kitties and he amped up his gas to like 200,000 and it still wouldn't go through. So RIP to him and his kitties, but it's not just Bitcoin that's having transaction fee problems right now. Sorry, Steam, but I don't know. That's my thought, I guess.
Yeah. Again, in my monologue, I guess it's hard to keep track now that we do 2 episodes. I don't know if I was telling you this or if I was telling myself this on my monologue. But yeah, I was saying like that Ethereum and whatever, like they're having trouble too, and it is what it is. I mean, like just because altcoins are different doesn't mean. And just because they're cheaper for now does not mean that they have solved scaling.
And they're really cheap right now. Like generally the Coinbase portfolio trends together, but Bitcoin is wrecking them. Like every altcoin is just demolished right now. It's not funny.
yeah, exactly. And the fees, altcoins are cheaper to spend. But that doesn't mean they've solved scaling. It just means they have less users.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, it's seriously the way I would leave the Steam topic is just that, like I said, it's hard to come to terms with, but it's becoming more and more obvious, which we've been suggesting for a while. Like, oh, maybe it won't be that everyone buys coffee with Bitcoin. Like, it's not like we've never entertained that possibility. We've always known that it might not work for coffee. But it still is. It's tough to see it actually happening. Where like it's not even in person. It's a digital content. It's supposed to be exactly what Bitcoin is for: digital internet, whatever. And it doesn't quite work that way. So, stay tuned. We'll see how that story goes. We'll see how our thinking goes in our heads, what we decide about all this stuff, and we'll tell you the truth as time goes by. Okay, guys, we got one more. Anything else on Steam? What were you saying, Tim?
I said I don't like how you said that, but whatever. I don't like the way the show is turning. I feel like Daniel's going down a dark path that he made.
I feel like Daniel's selling himself for Bitcoin. And he has a fiance, people. This is
he's a taken man. This is not something people are supposed to see. Is this getting back at her?
Selling my body all across the interwebs.
I show myself on my podcast.
The whole internet will see this. But at least they'll sign up for America's Card Room, so it's all for a good cause.
Yes, exactly.
Well, it's also good because I hurt James Bond. He says his ribs are hurting from laughing. This is the best show ever. That's why I do this, kids. Literally, no joke. I do this for you.
Don't call them kids with your shirt off. Don't bring that into it.
I do this for you, children. No, seriously, it is. There's
come back.
I don't even want to mention them, but there's a new podcast. No, I will. I don't care. There's a new podcast. I actually wrote a piece with him for You, Me, and BTC, and then Crypto Insider published it. Pierre and Bitstein, they're great. And they have high-level crypto discussion on their noted Bitcoin podcast.
Yeah, but they've never taken their shirts off, have they?
Exactly. You can't even see them. I mean, so I guess they could be naked. I don't know. Pierre, if
It's
you're
all
listening
part
to
of the
this, please
imagination.
clarify whether you record your episodes naked. But we give you high quality Bitcoin discussion and an assload of humor to boot. So everyone
Yeah.
has their niche.
We've been saying it for years, almost half a decade now. The planet's most entertaining Bitcoin podcast. That's who we are. So
Have we been saying that?
yeah, that's been our tagline for friggin' age. Tim,
No, it was a
I have
Bitcoin
a-
Liberty podcast.
well, that too. You're allowed to have multiple taglines.
No,
Tim.
you're not.
But I want to pull up one of my favorite banners that I ever made for the show. It has Tim's face on it. It has guns on it. It has a cigar on it. This is from January 16th, 2015.
Jesus.
But it's also possible. I think it's very likely that we used this tagline before then. But just at the very least, that's it. That's pushing 3 years now. Let me see. Open in a new. Well, this is working out real easy. Yeah. Anyway, so this banner, it's one of my favorites ever, and it's the epitome of us. Now, we have not mentioned this, and geez, it's got to be.
Oh, okay. But
It's got to be. We haven't mentioned this in over a year, probably, and it's one of our best pieces of content that we have ever made. And you can get there by going to youmeandbtc.com/BFL. And that stands for Butterfly Labs. And most people don't even know who that is anymore. Like, that was such a big deal back in the day. That's how you know you're OG. I mean, if there's stuff that nobody even knows about anymore, but you were there when it happened, like, it's not like Mt. Gox. Everybody knows about Mt. Gox these days. And like, okay, I know about Mt. Gox. I'm OG. Whatever. But Butterfly Labs, if you were there, if you shot a bullet hole through a Butterfly Labs miner, you're freaking OG. And that's what we did. So yeah, youmeandbtc.com/BFL. Let me just confirm that works real quick too. But anyway, that's my favorite banner. And we did say, like I said, the planet's most entertaining Bitcoin podcast. And yes, the link works. If you scroll down, you'll see the YouTube video. We got some of Jon Stewart's original super hardcore. I know we argued about the genre, but whatever the genre of his,
it's grindcore.
Grindcore. Original grindcore music. Guns, fire, axes, dogs, literally flannel, snow, pickup trucks, everything you could possibly hope for. So anyway, youmeandbtc.com/BFL. I did not plan that plug, but it is one of my favorite pieces of content we have ever made. So last story, guys, I've been promising you that we'll get here. What is it? Energy. Bitcoin mining is freaking expensive AF. Now, we covered this. My guess would be 2 months ago. It's a total guess, but maybe like 2 months ago, we covered a super similar story where it's just like, oh, the Bitcoin miners, in an hour, they use enough energy to power Denmark for a week. I don't know if that's the actual numbers, but it's something like that. Or it's, like you could power a small family's house for 9 days or whatever. And then there were articles about like, oh, well, it's actually hard to tell how much they really use for this reason and that reason and the way they measure it and all that stuff. And what kind of energy they use to get their electricity and everything. But I want to talk about the possibility, guys. Just like, let's say that it did take a crap ton of energy and people did it anyway. Would that be bad for the environment? Would that be bad for humanity? Would that be bad for Bitcoin? Like, what would that mean? For a little bit, let's assume that they're just right. It takes a crap ton of energy. Again, we've looked at the charts pretty recently, but it's, numbers like $35 per transaction. is what they estimate goes into electricity for mining each transaction. And then there are rebuttals to that, like, oh, well, with Lightning Network, you'll fit 1 million transactions into a block, and so they won't be as expensive or whatever. But still, what does that mean? Somebody else say something. I got to know what this means. Like, what if it is real? What if it does use a crap ton of electricity? Are we ruined?
I think if it uses a crap ton of electricity, there's several problems with that. One is, so there was some Bloomberg article that said if it continues like this, so by 2020 we'll use all of the current energy on the planet that we use on an annual basis. And okay, but we know for a fact it's not going to continue at some static consumption rate until 2020. Odds are in favor of more efficient mining technology being created, and odds are also in favor of people finding more efficient energy sources like wind, solar, and geothermal. They're phenomenally cheap. And so maybe in the ideal scenario would be that Bitcoin actually ushers in more advanced, renewable, environmental friendly technology, which is sort of the polar opposite of this idea that Bitcoin will kill the environment. It could very well usher in a new generation of more advanced, environmentally friendly energy sources and technology and all that nonsense. But also, even if it does use a ton of energy, that we waste so much energy on so many things all the time. So maybe one thing that makes our life marginally better than it is right now, where we exchange green printed paper as as money that has some sort of intrinsic value above and beyond what it actually is at its base layer worth. Maybe the magic internet money is worth it, and who cares if the planet burns down, because at least we will have gone out in a triumphant ball of fire, and Satoshi Nakamoto will be proud of us all. I don't know. It's worth it.
Fuck you. Bitcoin's cool.
I have a whole lot to say about that, because I agree with a lot of it. First of all, I put the banner back up at the request of NY Cartoons.
Hell yeah.
So before I get into responding to Zach, I just have to remind all of you, this is why you got to be here live every Thursday, 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern. This is why you got to jump in the chat box, because it's a real thing. We will listen to you. We will take off our shirts if you ask us to. We will put up the banner again if you ask us to. James wonders if I'm wearing any pants, but I don't really feel obligated to answer that.
Why are you
question.
wondering, James?
He's also asking if you'll take your shirt off too, Zach. So I think James has got this whole planned out right now. He's doing a little bit of touching himself right now.
Yeah. So seriously, guys, every week, every Thursday, 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern, you, me, and btc.com/live every week, updates to the latest live episode. If you want to find an old one, you can go to /E208 in this case, or whatever the number is. So there's that. Now, all right, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So Zach is saying that there's a couple tweets I remember seeing that really apply to what Zach was saying. He said that we waste a crap ton of money on everything. And that is so true. The best tweet I saw about that was from Sovereign Tech. And he's like, hold on, guys. If you really want to stop polluting, just stop having wars. He said, and he's been in the military. Like, he's one of those people that knows what it's like. And he said, hey, that is they use so much energy and pollute so much more than anything else you could possibly imagine. If you want a clean environment going forward, stop killing each other with giant metal war machines. I remember, I don't know any specifics at all, but yeah, I remember just hearing numbers about like how much fuel that they use on a training flight. You know, like they're flying an F whatever for half an hour on a training flight, and they drop, $5,000 worth of fuel, or probably more. I don't know, 50,000, whatever the number is.
I really don't think that you're understanding how much those pilots are sacrificing for your freedom right now, Daniel.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Sorry, I forgot.
No, but regardless, and this is why, if I can tie this into a random tangent, this is why I'm so disappointed in Roger Ver, because dollars, I'll just say, dollars facilitate that sort of pollution. because the government can print as much money as they want, capitalize on its initial value before it's devalued as it disseminates throughout the rest of the economy, and they can fund these massive war campaigns. And with Bitcoin, which is the famous video of Roger Ver like screaming and crying about, which happens, children dying from drone attacks and other conventional mechanisms of or weapons that are used in war. I agree with Roger on that point. It's heinous, it's awful, and you cannot say that there is no direct link between that sort of stuff being funded and fiat currency being used. So Bitcoin could kill that pollution, but it's massively disappointing that Roger is, or was at least, so passionate about that, and now he's just taking pit shots at someone who we all respect just as much, not just as much, but close to. We respected Roger close to as much as we respect Andreas. Right. Now Roger's just a wash-up shithead and taking pot shots at Andreas. So yeah,
it's tough. And my cartoon says, I'm pretty sure an airplane flying coast to coast uses a shit more energy than any BTC mining farm. I don't know the specific numbers, but totally possible as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I think all 50 of the Yumi and BTC mining farms have actually cut our energy consumption by 15.5%.
Vote for us as president of Bitcoin because we spend less money on Bitcoin mining.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. Hey, so the other tweet that I wanted to mention was, I have no idea who to give credit for. I searched for this before the show. I wanted to put it in the show notes, and I just plain couldn't find it. But ultimately, it was a quote from Satoshi, who really deserves credit for it. And this was years ago, of course, and they put kind of the same problem to him, like, well, what if they spend a ton of money on mining, like, or a ton of energy and electricity, like, then what? And his response was, total paraphrase here, but it was something like, well, yeah, if that happens, then that means, and again, I ranted about the free market a lot on Monday, so check that one out, episode 208. But Satoshi's response was like, that's the market. If that's what the market says is valuable, mining Bitcoin and having Bitcoin and processing Bitcoin and whatever, if that's what they say is valuable, then that's because it's valuable. And it would be a net negative to not have Bitcoin. It's proof. The fact that they are putting that money into that energy, into that mining, is proof that it's profitable and valuable and wanted by the world. And it would be a net negative not to have it. Now, yeah, I'm not an economist. I know there's all kinds of, slippery slopes, and they would call them externalities where, well, yeah, people put money into other stuff. They put money into Ponzi schemes. Does that mean that's good for the economy? So I know it's like super nuanced, and, it's got to be long-term, fundamental, all that kind of stuff. But if it is long-term, fundamental, and continues to grow, mining and whatever, then sure, that's the market. That's what is valued and wanted by the world, and it would be a net negative not to have Bitcoin was what Satoshi said. So any other thoughts, guys, or are we ready for advice of the week?
I want a beer, so let's do advice of the week.
All right, let's do advice. We're wrapping it up. I'll go ahead and go first because I just love my advice, and it's going to be reiterating what I just said. This is, or what, not what I just said, what we said earlier in the show. This is the planet's most entertaining Bitcoin podcast. It is a ton of fun to be here live every Thursday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern. So check it out, guys. You, me, and BTC.com/live every week. We have a ton of fun. Apparently, we take off our shirts.
Apparently. You're trying to distance yourself from this.
And I'll give a big thank you to our fans. Like, I'm not just telling you that you should be here, but I'm definitely thanking you for being here. Or even if you're not here live, we love to have you listening, chiming in on YouTube, Twitter, wherever, Facebook, whatever, on the website, leave comments. We love having you. Thanks for being here. It means the world to us. that's my advice, my thought, I guess, of the week. It's not really advice, but you guys are the best. And screw Butthole Labs. Anyway. All right, guys, any advice?
So my advice for the week, my advice is never sell your Bitcoin, only buy the dips. That's not official investment advice, obviously. So, screw that. That's not my advice. And my real advice, which is what I was going to give originally, is just recommending a cool piece that a friend wrote. I actually haven't met him in person. We just connected online. Where's this freaking screen share nonsense? We've said this a few times about how forks are going to get all popular and stuff. And he concludes by saying he welcomes every fork, every single one. So he likes forking, just like all of us do. His name is Brandon Espinoza. He wrote a quick piece on Steemit called How the Bitcoin Cash Hard Fork Saved Bitcoin. Now, we're not huge Bitcoin Cash fans necessarily, but we do okay, I guess. So go check it out. He has some interesting opinions. It's on Steemit. That's all.
Cool. Hey, I got a little more advice, one thing I want to get to before Tim's final advice. First of all, a huge shout out to Mr. or M Rocky. M Rocky says it's his first comment in the chat box. This is a great show, according to him. So thanks so much, M Rocky, for joining us. And he gave us a big old thumbs up. Also, James Bond says, don't forget the sponsor. So I'm going to go ahead and say this show has been brought to you by James Bond. Hopefully, if he comes through with those Bitcoins for us, then he'll be our sponsor. So James Bond, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sponsoring us. I'll be watching for that coin. All right, Tim, what's your advice?
First off, if you want to see Daniel shirtless, it's not that much money if you've held on to Bitcoin. So advice right there, I guess. Besides that, don't I was about to say don't worry about the price, but yes, worry about it. Sell all your Bitcoin. Cash out, put everything into dollars. No. I guess real advice, talk to your family. Somebody I know, their grandmother just died. It's making me think about stuff or whatever. So if you hate your family, you don't need to go talk to them. But if you like them, go see somebody, go talk to somebody. You can get to tell them that you have a lot more fucking money than they do now because you have Bitcoin. But yeah, go do that. Have a good week.
All right, guys. That's it. What Tim said. Have a great week. Keep an eye out for our monologue. Zach, what are the chances that you'll be interviewing maybe? Anything coming this Monday?
Yeah, so I have a couple cool potential interviews lined up with one academic who's on a short list for this massive. He's heavily involved in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, but he's also like a big sustainable economics academic. And he's shortlisted for some award. I don't remember what, but we were chatting, and I might snag him for an interview. And also this one, I forget what app or platform he works for, but he's from Venezuela, this other guy. So we'll chat with him at some point about Bitcoin in Venezuela and a couple others. No guarantees on exactly when. Maybe this coming Monday. We'll have to see when they respond. We're still chatting over email, but we definitely have some cool content lined up.
All right, so keep an eye out for that, guys. It's a mystery, and that just makes it all the more interesting. Yeah, Monday show recorded coming up, and we will see you live, as usual, Thursday, 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern. Thanks again for being here, everybody. James Bond, NY Cartoons, M. Rocky. I'm sure I'm missing some. Flapping Plemis, Jeremy Bennett, anyone else that's been in there. I'm sure. Matthew O'Keefe. Thanks a lot. Everyone else, jump in the chat next week. Tweet me in the meantime at you, me, and BTC. And we'll catch you later. Thanks, John Stewart, for whatever music crap he is playing right now. Peace out.